Hey guys, my name is Chelsea.knox. I am a real estate agent out of San Antonio, Texas with Redfin. For those of you who don't know me, I've done several videos in the past, more so geared towards real estate agents, why I joined Redfin, all that good stuff. But this one is going to be for buyers. I am specifically a buyer's agent. I sold just over 48 houses last year alone, and most of those were buyers. I genuinely enjoy working with buyers, and so I kind of wanted to get on here and break down whether you're a first-time home buyer, whether you haven't bought a house in a while, maybe you're an experienced home buyer, why it's still a good time to purchase a house even though the real estate market is a little inflated. So let's go ahead and get into it. First disclaimer, this is not going to be a one-size-fits-all advice video. I genuinely believe that there are different buyers, different scenarios, and it may not be a good time for you, it might be a good time for someone else. So I will try to keep that in mind, but I will drop my information below as well. So if you want to give me a call, text, email, whatever is best for you, I'd be happy to just chat through and kind of give you my 2 cents, tell you what to ask your agent for, what to look out for, all that good stuff, just some general advice. I am not very salesy. I just do this because I genuinely think that people should not be suckered into the real estate market without having some kind of knowledge of what is going on. So let's get started. So first of all, if you're a first-time home buyer, or even if you haven't purchased a house in a while, the number one advice I have is talk to a lender first, upfront, right away. Obviously, everyone does that, but what I mean is really talk to a lender about the market, about the interest rates, and all of that stuff. Right now in November of 2023, when I'm making this video, interest rates have dropped just a little bit, but they are still like 7.5%, maybe 7.25%. They used to be 8%. Either way, those are both pretty high compared to what we were used to the last several years, thanks to COVID, when everything dropped and interest rates were in the 3s, 4s. So when you have a higher interest rate, there's a lot of fear in the market. A lot of people think if you have a higher interest rate, you can't purchase a house. It's a dumb decision. You're going to be paying too much. Not many people know this, but your interest rate does not have to be what the market interest rate is. So if the market is saying the interest rate is set at 7.5, we can still buy a house at an interest rate of 6%. Very easily, actually. And this is through something called a rate buy down. Now, there are several forms of buying down the rate. You can just do an upfront rate buy down where you pay a certain amount of money to lower your interest rate. That would be lowered through the entire length of the loan. So if you're doing a 30-year loan, that's going to be the same interest rate throughout the entire loan. It's not going to go up. And the fun thing is you can pay for it, or we can get money from the seller in form of seller concessions and have the seller actually pay to reduce your interest rate. So it's not out of pocket for you. So if you're on the fence because of a rate, that's not a good enough reason to not take a look at, home buying. If you want to move, you have to move, but you're stopping yourself just because of the rate. We have ways to get around that. There is also something called a 2-1 buy down. Sometimes there's a 3-2-1 buy down. And that is a 2-1 buy down would be if the market is saying the rate is 7.5%. The first year would be 2% less. So the first year would be 5.5% interest rate. The second year of your loan would go up to 1, so it would be 6.5% interest rate. And then the third year through the remainder of your loan would be the full market price, which is 7.5%, or whatever your interest rate is. So 2% off, 1% off, and then it goes back to the full market price. And so that is a 2-1 buy down. A lot of people like this because it gives you a really good rate for the first year or the second year. But a lot of people plan to refinance with this. So when they do that, they have full knowledge that the rate's eventually going to go back up, but they plan to refinance by then. And more than likely rates, I shouldn't say that. I should phrase it as they're thinking that more than likely the rates will come down less than what it is now. So less than 7.5%, even if it just goes to 6.5%, right? We're not saying they're going to tank, but they're going to drop. And so they're going to have a very low mortgage the first year. The second year is going to be a pretty doable mortgage. And by the third year, they'll be able to refinance with whatever the market rate is at that time. Hopefully less than what it is. And if not, you can always buy down your rate at that time. So those are just some options around the interest rate. Now, I tell you to look up front with your lender and talk about that because that is going to be kind of the biggest factor right now. your rate really determines how much house you can afford. And I say that because there are several scenarios out there, and I am not a math major, so I'm not even going to try to attempt it, so don't quote me on the math. But there's several, examples out there where someone is qualified. Maybe in 2020, they were qualified for a $500,000 house because rates were in the 3%. Now that rates are in 8%, maybe they're no longer qualified for $500,000. Maybe they're qualified for $325,000 or $350,000. So the point is that rate really changes how much house you can buy because it changes your monthly payment quite a bit. We're talking several hundred, if not several $1,000 difference on that rate. And so we want to be really careful, and we want to make sure the lender is getting you on the same page up front of what you can afford, what your monthly payment's going to be, so that we can take a look. And another important reason is if you don't like your monthly payment, maybe the house you like, in order to move, you want a pool, you want 4 bedrooms, 3 bath in your area. Maybe that price looks like $400,000. Maybe you're not able to afford a monthly payment of $400,000 with your interest rate. Maybe, say hello to my cat, maybe we have to drop the interest rate. If you have that knowledge up front, then I'm able to better help, or your real estate agent is able to better help, because we know what we're looking for. Now we know we need $17,000 from the seller in order to lower the interest rate to make your mortgage doable. That is now something that I know I have to be thinking about when we're writing an offer. I have to put it in the offer. I have to look at houses that maybe the seller is very motivated. Maybe it's been sitting on the market for a little while, stuff like that, so that we can actually get you where you want to be. So it's very important to have that conversation with the lender up front. So when you're talking to a lender, ask about the rate. Ask about rate buy downs, whether that's a 2-1 buy down, whether that's just a full, throughout the length of the loan, a regular rate buy down, whatever you can ask for to lower that mortgage payment, so that you don't just get a number and say, oh, no, we're not ready, we can't afford that, because that's not really my goal. If you want to move, my goal is to kind of make it happen and make sure you're getting a good deal out of it. So that is step 1. Talk to a lender, talk about rates. Step 2 is make sure you're getting an agent who is very well versed in real estate. They know the contract, they know all the ins and outs, they know all the loopholes and secret tricks. I was a new agent myself. Obviously, at one point we all were, but it's really scary to use a new agent when rates are so high and there's so much on the line, because right now people are getting a ton of concessions if you just ask for it. There are a lot of new agents who just go, well, if we just give them what they're asking for, the asking price, I'm very sure we're going to get that offer accepted and you're going to win that house. And you're going to say, oh, okay, well, that's great. I don't have to pay over asking. I'll just give them what they want. We'll take the house. Well, you're missing a lot of money on the table. And I say this because I'm mostly a buyer's agent. I've also been on the sell side, so I anticipate it, and I warned my sellers that this is going to happen. But in this market, because rates are so high, the only way for buyers to purchase is if it benefits them. Nobody is, making a bad deal right now. There's just too much on the line. It's too expensive to purchase a house right now for it to be a bad deal. So I always go in low. I never go offensively low. I'm very clear with my buyers. That is just not how it works if it's super low, or yes, we can try this. But you should be asking for things like a home warranty. Those were things that we have not seen in offers for a long time because the market was a seller-dominated market. Now we're shifted towards buyers. So you should be asking for a home warranty plan. That gives you 1 year after you move in, that if anything breaks, dishwasher, appliances, AC, stuff like that, it's pretty much covered. You pay a small fee for them to come out and service it, but if they pay for the repairs, they pay for a replacement if they can't repair it. So home warranty, you should be asking for. You should be asking for closing costs, seller concessions, always. That should be in your offer. And again, that can either go towards buying your rate down, or if you don't want it to buy your rate down, maybe you don't want to pay out of pocket. I've had some buyers come to the closing table only owing $200 for the entire purchase of their house because they used all that money to pay everything else off. And we also got them in touch with lenders that do, down payment assistant programs, or they give a credit for using that lender, all those good things. And again, that goes back to the knowledge of your agent. home warranty, seller's concessions, you should be having them pay the HOA fees or the survey. Maybe they pay title unless you want to choose the title company that's going to maybe work best for you. All those little fees. So try to think of the offer. It has so many different components that could be filled out. It really does. And so we want to maximize the deal that you're getting because that's what this market is right now. 2020 was known for over asking. Everyone knew that you were going to pay $50,000, $100,000 over asking. People were giving cars away in their offer just to win houses. That's a true story. And this time is really kind of known for getting the most from the buyers. You can get so much closing costs right now, and those closing costs can be applied in various ways to make it make sense for you as a buyer. And then the last thing I kind of want to talk about, so we talked about talking to a lender, talking about rate buy down. We talked about getting an agent who's very knowledgeable and making sure you don't leave any money on the table with your offer. And kind of the last thing I want to talk about is refinancing. It's going to be important to there's a phrase that a lot of real estate people talk about, and it's like date the rate, marry the house. So when you find a house you love, you want to marry that house. You want to move into it forever. You're just dating the rate. The rate is temporary. You're not married to the rate. The rate can change at any time with refinancing. And a lot of people are scared of refinancing. It sounds like a very fancy term. And if you're not very well versed in real estate, it sounds like something that rich people do or other people do, but it's not qualified for you. Refinancing is actually very, very simple. It does cost a little bit of money, so it is not free. There are some fees involved, but the fees are relatively small for the benefit of what you get. There are different types of refinancing. I'm happy to go into depth on another video if you want on all of those, but the point is that if you have to move, if you're outgrowing your current house, if you are moving and relocating, if whatever the case may be, maybe you're like, oh, we should rent for a while until the market cools off. That's not a good idea. That's a whole nother video. Marry the house, date the rate. Your rate can change at any time. You can refinance at any time. It is so easy. Most of the time, sometimes it gets a little complicated, but most of the time it's very easy to refinance, and you can change your rate as soon as rates come down, and you still have the house you love at the price you have right now. The issue with waiting for rates to drop is when rates drop and they're at a very reasonable point, that house that you want today is no longer going to be priced as it is today. A $350,000 house today is probably going to be $400,000 within a year, if not 2 years, and then continue to grow. That's just how markets trend more often than not, especially if you're in a hot city, major city. Those tend to appreciate a lot quicker than other cities. So if you wait for those rates to drop, you're going to be waiting for every buyer to come back in the market. You're going to instantly have multiple offers again because now the rate is reasonable. There's every buyer that waited. They're ready to purchase, and you're going to have multiple offers. You're not going to get those sellers' concessions. You're not going to get those smaller fees paid like the survey, HOA documents, title, all that good stuff. So your offer is going to be less geared towards you as a buyer and more geared towards the seller. And the house is going to be more expensive. All that is just a lot of negatives just for a lower rate. When you can purchase now with a lot of positives, you can get a lot of concessions. You can pay very little out of pocket for your purchase. You can pay probably under asking price for your purchase of the property, and then have a temporary rate or buy down the rate and refinance later. And so it is still a good time to buy. Don't let the market scare you. I'm not very salesy. I don't like to talk people into purchasing. I have not done as many deals this year as I have last year, and I'm totally okay with that because the people I meet are sometimes they're not at an okay spot to buy, or sometimes they can't afford the temporary rate. And so if I can't make a really good deal work for them, or sometimes it takes 8 months to make a really good deal for them. And so I'm not here to kind of trick you into purchasing or anything like that. I just want to offer my information, which will be listed below. Feel free to call me, reach out. I'm here to help and kind of talk through what you're going through, what the possibilities are. We'll pinpoint a property just as an example, all that good stuff, and see if I can be of any any assistance. So I am going to start trying to make more videos. If you are a new buyer, experienced buyer, whatever the case, if you have any questions, comment them below. If it's a really good comment that I can go into detail with, I will post another video responding to that comment. If not, I'll just reply. So if you guys need anything or have any questions, let me know.